Welcome, I'm Chris, and I'm going to step you through exercise 1 for uh, Rhinoceros or Rhino3D 6.0. What you see here is a solid model actually. So Rhino is great for making freeform designs, and you've probably seen some of my videos from for the past couple of years. And they're typically surface models. Now in this case, we're going to actually look at its solid modeling capabilities. And a little bit of the interface. And we're going to make this part that you see there. So let's begin. Uh, Now to get started, just go to either File New or go up here to New. And we're going to go ahead and select the Small Objects Inches. Go ahead and hit Open. And it should give you the 4 viewports. Now to transition to one individual viewport, you just simply double click on the one you want. Like if I want perspective, I double click on it says perspective, and I can double click on it to bring us back to the 4 ports. Now you'll see for modeling in Rhino, it's actually very different than many CAD systems these days. It does have history functionality down here, and you could actually record history. And so history is nice because it allows us to go back and make some changes. It's not full parametrics though that I've seen thus far to where you can actually add dimensions that are easily changed and things, but let's continue on. All right, first of all, I like using all the viewports actually. It's very nice. So as we can see here, another thing, the grid snap is good to have on in this case. And if you zoom up here, to where you could actually see about 4 squares easily, you're in good shape. Because each of these major squares is an inch, and each of the small squares is a 1/4 inch. So let's go over here. Now you'll see the box. Now you can actually draw a profile and extrude it, much like some other CAD systems out there. But in this case, we're going to use what they call primitives. So I'm going to go over here to the box, and then I'm going to find that I snap over here. Now remember the grid snap. And also, I like to have O snap, and here you could set O snap up for near. So once you get the actual solid model, you could snap to edges of that versus always just the grid. But we have both of those on. So I'm going to snap right here to this, which is the origin, the 0 marker in space, 0 for X and Y and Z. Go ahead and snap and click and drag this out. Now we want to go 5 squares high, so that's 5 inches, and then 3 across, because we're going to have a 5 by 3 rectangle. Now click. Now drag this up, and if you look in the lower left corner here, you can actually see the Z distance, and we actually want it to be 0.5, and we could type in the value over and right up here you can see there's actually a little area there, but let's get it up here and make sure it's 0.5 and click. Now your wheel on your mouse will zoom in and out, so if you scroll you can zoom in and out. And if you want, you could actually over here where it says perspective, click on the little arrow to the right, and there is shaded. So you can actually see the shaded mode of it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add a round. Now, this is a very different, those of you who watched videos for other CAD systems, I have like almost, I think 13, almost 15 different CAD systems. All of them are a little bit different. This one's probably the most dramatically different. The way I'm going to model this is very different actually from what you typically see. So what we're going to do, we're going to put a fillet on. So if we go to solid over here, and there are icons for all these, but sometimes it's just easier if you know where you're going versus looking for the fillet. So we'll see fillet edge, and there's fillet edge. Now over here you'll see radius, and that's what we want. And we're just looking right now, put in the value. We want a 1-inch radius, so actually just type in 1. Don't put a decimal place. I accidentally put a decimal place right there for a second. Type in 1, hit enter. Now this edge over here, glide up to it, and you'll notice I accidentally hit the wrong one. I'm going to hit escape. Now what we can do is if you right click again, so with your right mouse button, it reactivates that last function. And now if you hold your right mouse button down, actually, you could rotate this model just like that. So if you need to, you could get over here. Now if you hold shift and that right mouse button, you could pan. And so I just want to get this edge over here. So I'm going to click on that edge. It should highlight yellow. And now you could right click again, just one right click, release, and you'll see a preview. Right click again, and it will put that fillet on. Now we're going to put a chamfer in here. So go back to the solid, pull down, go to Fillet Edge, and at the bottom you'll see chamfer. Now chamfer, instead of it being a radius, it's actually an angle. So click on chamfer and put in 0.125, hit enter. And also you'll see chain edges. Go ahead and select that. Now, see this edge with the fillet, the top one there? You can either select that or this edge right here. And you'll see it will highlight the tangent edges along there. And then it stops when it gets to a sharp edge. So now once you have that, right click, you'll see a little preview, right click again, and one more time. And now it puts the chamfers in. So again, if you rotate, holding the right mouse button down, you can see what we've just done. Now let's add to this. We're going to build that second tier. So let's use the primitive again. Go to the box, this bottom corner here. When you get there, click, drag it to the right, and you want to go 1.5. So we see there's one block there and two little blocks. That's 1.5 inches. And we're right on the edge, so click. Now drag this up, and we should see down at the bottom the Z. I'm looking right over here. Should be 1 inch because we're adding the 1/2 inch from the bottom and a 1/2 inch over the top there. So once you get that, click. Now they're not joined just yet. Okay, so let's now go ahead and go to the fillet tool again. So solid, fillet, and trust me, there's a dozen ways you could do what we're doing here. I'm not even sure this is the best way, but I've modeled it a couple times in different methods, and it seems to be the way that works kind of best. If someone has a better way, go ahead and just put it down below. Okay, so I'm going to click on this edge now, and then right click, and it should remember 1 inch from last time. Right click again, and we have that on there. All right, now let's go to solid, and let's go to fillet and chamfer. And we're still at 0.125, but make sure you select chain edges. And now select this edge here, right click, right click, right click. So 3 clicks. All right. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in a hole over here. So for the hole, we'll use a primitive again. Now there is a hole tool, and there's a lot of really neat things you can do there, but let's use a primitive. Let's use a cylinder. Now this is where it might be better to go onto this top view here. So you can scroll up, and we're looking, see, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 over from the left. So this little area right here. Now that's where we want to start. And so click. Now drag this out, and we actually want it to be 0.375 for the diameter. Or if that's for the radius, actually. Hit enter. Now you can drag it up, and you can actually use this view here if you want, or this view here. Now we just want it to go higher than the actual model, so it doesn't really matter the height as long as it clears past. We could even have it right on the edge. Now what we're going to do is over here where we have Boolean, hit the little arrow where you see those two little balls and find subtract or difference. Select the main part here, okay, and then right click or hit enter, and then select this part here and right click, and it should subtract away and make a hole for us. Now let's go, and we're going to merge these two. So go to Boolean union and select this part and this part, and then right click, and now it's all one. Now let's verify that's a solid. So you can analyze it. And what I always do in other CAD systems, and it seems to work here too just fine, is if you go to Match Properties and go to Volume. And if it gives us a volume, hit Enter. Okay, actually, let's try that again. Match Properties. Oh, you have to select the model. Sorry. Make sure you click on the model, then right click, and right there we get a volume, 9.2 cubic inches. So in theory, it's not just a collection of solids, because typically what we want, and you can get away with just a polygon model that's not merged if you're going to 3D print, but a lot of times you want to have a solid. This software is really suitable for surfaces. It's outstanding for surfaces, probably one of the best out there, especially for the price point. But as far as solids, it's not as strong as some of the other solid modelers out there, as we're going to see right now. Now, we want to shell this out, and I always do this as kind of my little review of other modelers, and this is where we run into possibly some issues. So for the shell command, if we don't want to go looking for it also, you could just type in shell in the command manager, hit enter, and it goes to shell. Now go ahead and set your shell thickness to 0.03, hit enter. Now select the bottom surface, hold shift, select this one, and this one. Right, I release shift and I'm just rotating. You can see it was just those surfaces. Those are the surfaces we want to open up. Now right click, and this is what we get. Shell result is not solid. Okay, and what I'm guessing, it's this region right here. You can see it didn't quite close up. Now, can we close that up? Yeah, we could actually use a patch surface, and then we're gonna have to trim a little bit there. But rather than trim and extend that, I just wanted to show you some limits there. Because normally in other systems, I've never had that issue before. But again, this is a surface modeler. Could we actually print this out? Not until we patch it. Okay, so let's hit Control Z to undo. Now I've got a solution here. It's a little bit more work, but I wanted to put fillets in here anyways. I usually do for rendering. So I'm going to go to Solid, Fillet, and let's set it to 0.03 and enter. Now we want to go to chain edges, select this edge right here, and go ahead and select this edge here. Well, actually, let's just get this one first. Right click, right click, right click. So 3 clicks. So you can see it filleted this edge very nicely. Now we're going to go ahead, right click. It brings us back to that. Make sure you select chain edges. Select this edge now. So we're looking down on it right there. Right click, right click, right click. All right, so we've added some fillets. Let's do one more. Right click and chain. Select this edge here. There we go. And right click, and right click. Now it does a pretty decent job here. It didn't do what I was hoping for. It actually made it worse. Now my model I made earlier worked better because of the order of operation. So I'm going to hit Control Z, 1, 2, right click, chain edges, select this one first. Actually, yeah, we should be fine. So right click, right click, right click. All right, see, look at that. Now that looks a little bit better. One more fillet. Let's right click and chain edges. Select this edge and see how it carries up in the preview. Right click, and right click. And now we have a better trimmed entity there. Now, rotate around and let's test it. Now I'm going to go ahead and just maximize it. I don't really need these other views now, so I'm just going to double click on perspective. Now let's go to shell, S-H-E-L-L, hit enter. All right, 0.03, we're looking good there. Let's go ahead and select this face, shift select these, and I don't believe the order of selection makes any difference, but I might, for all I know. Okay, look at that, we get a message. Poly surface is not closed. So hit Control Z. Oops, oh, I didn't want to do that actually. Let's see, did it put that in there? Yeah. Let's go edit and redo Control Y. All right, now I interrogated this model earlier and I discovered there is a gap when I put that fillet in. It didn't trim this edge. Look at that fillet. You can see right through it. Okay, so we need to fix that. So here's what we're going to do. Go to Surface, and we're going to go to, let's see, I believe we want edge curves. All right, select this edge right here. Hold, and actually we don't need to hold shift, select that edge and this edge. Now right click and it should patch it for us. So now we have a patch over it. Now let's test that. Now we have to select that or make that part of our selection. So let's go now to shell. I'm just going to type it in. 0.03, hold shift as you select these surfaces and zoom up and make sure you select that one too. And unfortunately it selected through it. So let's try that again. Did it actually? I thought I patched that. No, that should be a patch. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, we have to actually merge it. So see right here, the little join. Select this and select that. Okay, now what this does, remember I had history on. Now, history is an option. It broke the history, and that's typical with some of these modelers that if they weren't initially designed for being history based, so that's okay. Let's try this now. So it looks like it's all one. It's all highlighted in yellow, so we should be able to do this. Okay, go back to shell. Select this face, shift, select this, this, that, and let's get that little face there. There we go. All right, right click, no errors. All right, so it seems to have made it. Now see, it had to put those fillets in, so it's kind of like we didn't have to trim it that way, but it's a little bit more work, and maybe you didn't want those fillets in there in the first place. I actually wanted them on there, but just note that there's probably a whole bunch of different ways you can do this model. That's just one example there. But let's just analyze it. Go to Analyze and go to Mass Properties, Volume. Click on the model, right click, and we're getting the volume. Interestingly enough, it's a little bit lower than I thought it would be, but I think we're okay. All right, so that concludes exercise 1.